Welcome to the first segment of the course, The Pros to Becoming a Professional Private Investigator. A significant advantage of the professional private investigator business is the absence of entry barriers, unlike many other professions. Becoming a PI does not require 2, 4, 6, 8, or more years of education. Now, you may need to obtain a license to practice as a private investigator, but this is relatively simple in most states, especially when compared to years and years of schooling, and we will cover licensing requirements in one of the other segments in this course. Today, almost anyone can become a private investigator. If you're willing to put in the effort necessary to obtain your license, take advantage of available training resources, and get out there and hustle a little bit, I'm confident that you can do it. Additionally, the possibilities as a private investigator are limitless. I began by performing surveillance 6 days a week, day in and day out. However, because I took advantage of the available training opportunities, such as books, magazines, and my state private investigator association, I quickly excelled in other investigative areas. Another significant advantage is the ability to schedule your time. It is your business, and you have the freedom and flexibility to schedule your time however you please. Obviously, there are times your schedule may be less flexible due to the complexities of your workload. However, for the most part, your time will be your time, and you can schedule it however you see fit to benefit you and your PI business. This flexibility can enable you to scale your business as needed too. When personal obligations consume a greater portion of your time, you can simply take on fewer cases. When time becomes available, you can take on more cases. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. The ability to say no to a client is a huge plus for most private investigators. You are not obligated to accept every case that crosses your desk, nor are you obligated to work for every client who calls your phone. You are free to choose what works best for you. Here is a word of caution. If you decline an excess number of jobs, you may find yourself with no jobs to decline or accept. However, you will have the freedom to accept, decline, or refer jobs that you are unable or unwilling to perform. Money is another significant advantage of being a private investigator. Once established and once you've mastered the art of cash flow management and expense control, the money can be quite good as a private investigator. Now, I am not suggesting that you will become a millionaire in a year, 2 years, 3 years, or ever. However, running a successful private investigations business can provide you with a respectable income, and it beats working for other people. And being your own boss is monumental to most private investigators. Being the boss, not working for another person, and calling the shots in your business and life means a great deal to most PIs. Obviously, you will work for your clients, but that relationship is structured through negotiation with the client, the parameters set forth in your contract, and the expectations you establish for the investigation up front with the client. To me, being a private investigator and owning my own business is not a job. I never wake up and feel compelled to drag myself out of bed and to work. I simply enjoy what I do and the benefits it provides, and I never consider it a job. It is simply what I do. Welcome to segment 3 of the course. This segment is private investigator licensing laws and requirement. The first thing you must consider if you wish to work as a private investigator is your state's laws and requirements. True, the vast majority of states in the United States of America require private investigators, private detectives, detective agencies, and investigative agencies to be licensed. While the details vary considerably between states, there are some commonalities in the majority of them. Now, I have compiled a comprehensive list to aid you in your search for your state's requirements. I'll include a PDF document as a resource that will list all of the states and a link where you can get more information on your state's requirements. As a general rule, the majority of states will require an extensive, thorough background check on you, the PI applicant. Typically, this background check will include an FBI fingerprint check, as well as a check with your state's Bureau of Investigation, such as the CBI or the Colorado Bureau of Investigation here in Colorado. Additionally, most states require private investigators to undergo some level of testing. Several of these tests are strenuous and extremely difficult. Given this, it is critical that you thoroughly study your state's requirements and do everything possible to prepare for the test. Many states have a state PI association, which is a good place to begin your search for study materials for your state's PI licensing. Additionally, many of those associations may offer training in conjunction with obtaining your PI license, so be sure to check them out. Now, the manner in which the tests are administered is state dependent. Some states administer the test online, while others require you to take it in person. In some cases, breaks are permitted during the testing process, while in others, the testing period is timed and must be completed within the specified time frame. As a general rule, the testing for your PI license and the type of license you obtain are not determined by the type of investigations you will conduct. However, depending on the state, certain specialty areas of investigation may require a higher level of expertise or special licensing. Additionally, numerous states have varying degrees of PI licensing based on experience and other factors. Certain states require a business license in addition to the PI license, and the majority of cities require a business license regardless of the PI licensing requirements if you have an office in that city. Then there's the matter of sales tax. Yes, some states and cities require PI service providers to obtain a sales tax license in order to collect sales tax. To be clear, a business license is for the location where you typically office or conduct your day-to-day business. Your private investigator license is required to conduct investigations in the state you are working as a PI in. Welcome to segment 4. What does a private investigator do? Before I became a private investigator, I often wondered exactly what does a private investigator do? In this segment, we will take a deep dive and investigate the many types of investigations a private investigator may get involved in and the many avenues this exciting career can offer to you as a legal professional entrepreneur. Accident investigations. An accident investigation entails gathering evidence to determine why and how an accident occurred, as well who was at fault. When performing an accident investigation, you may be required to collect exact measurements at the scene, photograph the scene and the vehicles involved, and analyze police and other accident records. The investigation of an accident can be classified into numerous stages, beginning with the most fundamental techniques and progressing to more advanced techniques such as accident reconstruction and engineering. Asset locations. An asset locate investigation deals with the physical location of an individual or a business's assets, such as real estate or automobiles. Locating assets may involve searching public documents, conducting interviews, canvassing a neighborhood, and possibly even conducting surveillance. Oftentimes, you will be asked to perform an asset search if you are working on an adultery lawsuit, child custody issue, or any other case involving divorce or separation. Additionally, asset locates may be required in fraud cases, insurance surveillance cases, and other investigations. Background checks. A background check entails the examination of a person's criminal background, job history, civil court cases, and marital status, among other things. Frequently, a background check will necessitate the completion of an asset locate inquiry as well. Conducting a background check on an individual's employment history, housing status, or pretty much anything financial is challenging and requires special training in accordance with federal and state laws governing what information can and cannot be provided for employment, housing, or other financial matters. Bug sweeps, often referred to as TSCM sweeps or technical surveillance countermeasure sweeps, which employ extremely complex and expensive technology to discover and locate audio recording devices, video recording devices, and tracking devices. One of the most common errors made by private investigators entering the TSCM field is purchasing low-quality equipment online rather than investing in high-quality equipment that includes expert training. This creates a false sense of security for both the investigator and the PI's customer, since they believe, emphasis on believe, that they have conducted an exhaustive investigation. I have had several clients bring us in over the years after hiring a low-cost private investigator who discovered nothing, only to discover genuine dangers they were unaware of. Cell phone forensics. These highly technical investigations involve an expert analysis of the phone's activities, location, and other data recorded on the device. These forms of forensic investigations, like TSCM investigations, need the utilization of highly specialized expertise and technology. Child custody and child support investigations. These type of domestic investigations entail examining the behavior of a child entrusted to a parent, grandparents, aunts or uncles, or a guardian. Or they could include observing a parent's activities both during and outside of parenting time. Child custody and support investigations are fairly common and constitute the majority of many private investigators' work. Most child custody and support investigations will involve some level of surveillance as well as background check and asset location. Civil investigations. Among civil investigators' responsibilities is the gathering of evidence in connection with a civil matter. Oftentimes, these civil cases involve one party suing or accusing another of a particular behavior. Additionally, divorce, legal separations, and property rights are all examples of civil disputes. Computer forensics. Similar to cell phone forensics, a computer forensic investigation entails the collection of activity logs, data storage, and other information from a computer or laptop. Often, computer forensic experts are retained to analyze additional pieces of equipment, such as routers, network switches, and other computer peripherals. Cybercrime. This specialized area of investigations includes looking into the acts of hacking, remote system monitoring, cyberbullying, and other sorts of criminal action committed on the internet with the aim to cause harm to others. Corporate investigations. Investigations in the corporate realm can take a variety of forms and may involve discovering whether an employee or business partner is stealing from the company, ascertaining whether an ex-employee is stealing customers, or ascertaining whether an ex-employee has stolen intellectual property. Criminal investigations. A criminal investigation will involve the collection of evidence in connection with legal criminal cases as well as other criminal acts. Several of these instances involve criminal defense in areas such as driving under the influence and domestic violence, as well as serious felonies such as murder, assault, and attempted murder. Additional investigations in criminal cases may include scene examinations, interviews, a review of police reports, and canvassing of neighborhoods. Due diligence. When conducting due diligence investigations, you may be gathering information to ascertain a corporation or an individual's business history, financial performance, client structure, and other business-related factors. These are frequently undertaken before hiring an executive or engaging into a business relationship with another company or individual. Executive protection. EP, or executive protection, is a service that many PIs offer. This may entail the provision of physical bodyguard services to safeguard the safety of a high-profile client. Financial investigations. Investigating finances will include identifying and analyzing bank accounts, retirement accounts, and investment accounts, as well as the placement and deposit of monies, its origins, destinations, and uses. Fire, arson, and explosions. Being an investigator who is hired to determine the cause and impact of fires, arsons, and explosions often necessitates much prior experience in this subject to ensure the investigation is conducted properly. Fraud investigations. Many times, fraud investigations are a subset of other types of investigations. These investigations necessitate the pursuit of proof in instances where someone is purposefully misrepresenting a situation in order to gain a financial advantage over someone else. Infidelity, cheating spouse investigations. For many private investigators, infidelity and cheating spouse cases are highly common. When issues of marital or relational faithfulness arise, an infidelity case may arise. These types of cases frequently entail extensive monitoring of an individual's spouse or significant other, as well as some level of social media or online research. Insurance fraud investigations. A prominent field of investigation for private investigators is working insurance fraud investigations. These often comprise of the investigation and collection of evidence in connection with alleged fraudulent claims involving hail damage, home burglaries, and fire, among other things. In an insurance fraud investigation, methods such as interviews, photographs, surveillance, and canvassing of the local area may be used. Missing persons. The investigation of missing individuals comprises of assembling evidence regarding the whereabouts and activities of a person. You may have heard of them in connection with a runaway or missing children, missing spouses, elderly folks, at-risk individuals, or anyone who has been missing for an extended length of time. Locates and skip tracing. Numerous PIs undertake locates and skip tracing as a part of their regular investigation services offered. These two terms are synonymous, although there is quite a difference. Generally, skip traces entail searching for an individual through a series of reports in one or more PI databases, assessing the findings and selecting the most likely location of that individual. Locates, on the other hand, may entail phone calls to family and friends, as well as on-the-ground work such as questioning relatives, friends, former neighbors, employers, or co-workers in order to not only locate, but also confirm the subject's location. Process serving. The legal service of process is something that many PIs do on the side, either as a part of their work on their investigation cases and serving witnesses, or as a side gig delivering legal documents to individuals such as summonses or subpoenas. While serving process is not a desired task for many private investigators, it frequently makes a significant impact in the financial health of the PI's business, as well as keeping the PI active and bringing in new clients. Public records investigations. These entail gathering public records and documents from counties, cities, and towns, as well as state government records, as part of a variety of different types of investigations, including felony or misdemeanor criminal cases, domestic cases, civil cases, and other inquiries. OSINT investigations, open source intelligence investigations, encompass social media and online evidence collecting. OSINT investigations are assisting a variety of other types of investigations. This entails acquiring online evidence for a variety of purposes, including alibis, proof of relationships and activities, photo identification, and the identification of well-known friends. Surveillance. Covert surveillance investigations are arguably the most well-known and thought of investigation when people think of private investigators. Surveillance is frequently used in connection with child custody battles, marital conflicts, and insurance fraud investigations. There are two types of surveillance that are increasingly prevalent: stationary surveillance and mobile surveillance. While conducting stationary surveillance, a private investigator may be forced to spend extended amounts of time inside the tight quarters of their surveillance vehicle. Then, when the individual gets active and moves between locations, mobile surveillance is deployed by the private investigator. Wrongful death and serious bodily injury. This is a distinct area of investigation that requires specialized training and experience. These could range from suicide probes to accident inquiries to police shootings and other circumstances. Typically, these investigators must have formal training and job experience. That is a fairly comprehensive list of jobs a private investigator may conduct. In most cases, the majority of PIs will specialize in one, two, or maybe three of these specialty areas of investigation. As a general rule, you would not want to try to do it all. Rarely, if ever, does a professional private investigator succeed trying to be the jack of all trades PI. Welcome to the fifth segment of the course. In this segment, we will focus on ethics as it applies to the professional private investigator. When it comes to the field of private investigations, ethics is an essential component of the profession and the business. While investigators turning rogue are frequently depicted in fiction, the movies, and on television, doing so in real life might result in the termination of their career or reputation, as well as the possibility of jail time, depending on the circumstances. All private investigators are required to conduct themselves in an ethical manner. However, what is moral for one individual in a given scenario may not be moral for another individual in the same situation. Things are the same in the world of the professional private investigator as they are anywhere else. When it comes to the ethical behavior, each private investigator has their own interpretation, which might be troublesome. There is, however, a standard of ethical conduct for private investigators that must be maintained. This means that private investigators must be familiar with federal and state laws in order to ensure that they are not breaking those laws. Respecting the law is always a good place to start. It is critical to establish moral criteria that will serve to further define the scope of the private investigator's work. Let's first discuss behavior that is ethical, and the first part of this ethical behavior is fairness and honesty. In any investigation, fairness and honesty are essential to ensure the integrity of the case and ensure you remain ethical. As well, in all of your business transactions, you need to remain fair and honest at all times. Being honest means it is not acceptable to take improper shortcuts in your investigations or even to misrepresent information. Taking these shortcuts, misrepresenting information in any manner can be detrimental to your private investigator's career. Honesty is required in all communications, whether verbal or written. To put it in another way, it must be proven reality, and that fact must be something that can be demonstrated. Truthfulness and honesty are highly intertwined and interdependent. However, they are still distinct from one another. To be successful, a private investigator must uphold a high level of integrity in all of his or her investigations. Integrity is defined as the ability to be truthful, honest, and to consistently do the right thing, even if no one else is watching or aware of what you're doing. As a professional private investigator, in order to ensure you are conducting ethical investigations, there are certain pitfalls you should avoid. The first one many PIs struggle with is the everyone else is doing it thought. First off, when you hear this, it is usually not accurate. However, just because you know someone who does this in their PI business does not mean it is okay in yours. The second pitfall to watch for is the I didn't have an option mentality. There is always an ethical decision to be made in any and all situations. In my opinion, as a private investigator, this comment, I didn't have an option, is at the very least unprofessional. There are also always options. Perhaps hard choices have to be made, but there are always options. Another one I have heard from other private investigators is the I didn't realize it was against the law statement. As a private investigator, this comment is at the very least unprofessional. It is the investigator's responsibility to be familiar with all rules, regulations, and laws regarding the scope of their work. And then there is the pitfall of that's the way I've always done things before. Just because you or someone else has always done something unethical in the past and no one has caught you doesn't mean it's okay to do it now or in the future. Maintaining the highest level of honesty, candor, and integrity in every case and investigation you take on will ensure that you are on the right track. Maintaining an ethical PI practice will enhance your professionalism as a private investigator and help you to build a solid reputation in the PI industry. Maintaining an ethical PI practice will also assist you in providing the best possible services to your clients. You should keep this in mind too. It is more than just a means to performing the duties of your job as a PI. It is also an investment in your PI career. Having a code of ethics that you hold yourself responsible for, as well your employees, your subcontractors, and anyone else you do business with, is much more than just a code of honor to adhere to. You must be aware of the requirements in your state as well. Many state PI licensing laws have a code of ethics or ethics standards a PI must adhere to. And in most instances, if you are working for an attorney, a law firm, a lawyer, or some other legal professional, you must adhere to their ethics requirements too. Ignorance is not a defense. Simply stating you don't know, or even if you truly didn't know, the fact remains that you should have known. Let's take a quick look at what we have covered in this course. And while we do that, keep in mind I have a bonus section for you as well. In the bonus lecture, I will discuss many other resources that I have for you to help you succeed as you embark on your new adventure of becoming a professional private investigator. Throughout the course, we covered a plethora of things you need to know to become a professional private investigator. As we covered the pros to becoming a PI, we learned about the lack of barriers in entering the profession, the limitless possibilities, ability to schedule your work as it fits your life's needs, and the money benefits to being a professional private investigator. We also took a long look at the cons or the disadvantages to being a PI. I know I took a great deal of time on this segment, but I feel it is vitally important to understand the challenges of any adventure before you embark on that journey. I have been in the PI business for a long time, and I have seen many a PI come and many a PI go. And most of those that never made it also never understood the challenges they faced, and even more importantly, they never took that first important step in educating themselves on the process of becoming a successful professional private investigator. A lot of those cons and challenges we looked at were financially based. The cost of licensing, as well, the arduous task of applying for licensing. Startup costs can be high as well, and the need for the proper office can be quite a challenge. We also looked at PI licensing requirements. Did you download the free PDF resource that provides information where you can obtain more info on your state's requirements for PI licensing yet? If not, fear not. You can still do it right now. And we took a long look at all of the different types of investigations you might be considering as you become a professional private investigator. Then we wrap the course up with the most important part of being a PI, ethics. As a legal professional, you must hold yourself to the highest standards when it comes to ethics and honesty if you are to be successful in this profession. I know we have covered a lot in a short period of time, and there is a lot to consider, and you probably have even more questions now than when you started the course. I have a bonus segment coming up for you where I will give you more information on even more resources to consider as you work towards achieving your goals of becoming a professional private investigator. Thank you again for taking the time to invest in yourself, invest in your future, and invest in your PI career. Welcome to the bonus lecture for this course. I know we went pretty fast and covered a lot of territory as we progressed through the course. I also know I probably have left you with more questions coming out than what you had going in, but that is a good thing. That means you were paying attention. There is a lot more to becoming a professional private investigator than I could have ever covered in this course all at one time. In fact, there is so much to cover, I have written several books that are dedicated to new private investigators. Let me tell you a little bit about each of these books and what information you could obtain from them. The first one is Business Basics for Private Investigators. In Business Basics, I cover the business of private investigations to include defining your target market, accounting, bookkeeping, banking and invoicing, escrow accounts, profit and loss, and more. And that is just the first chapter. I then will tell you all about the types of business entities and the differences between them, such as sole proprietorship, LLC, limited liability companies, and corporations. Chapter 3 covers the legalities and formalities of the PI business to include selecting a business name, private investigator surety bonds, and liability insurance. I also include in this book sample templates for invoices, check registers, and an account ledger. My next book, this one is the second in a series of 3 books I have written as a series made just for new private investigators, is Marketing Basics for Private Investigators. I made each of these to be used in conjunction with each other in the series, or they can be standalone if you already have the knowledge about the topics included in one of the other books. In Marketing Basics for Private Investigators, we look at how to make a marketing plan, what should be included in that marketing plan, how to determine your target market's goals, strategies, and tactics, as well how to measure and evaluate the success of your marketing. I have also included for free a list of investigation types and advertising mediums a new PI might want to consider using. The third book in this series is Sales Basics for Private Investigators. Sales is one of the biggest challenges most PIs face, even for those with many years of sales experience. Learning how to sell on the phone, close the deal while the client is talking to you is a huge challenge. Sales Basics covers what are you selling? First contact with the client, phone sales techniques, closing the sale, solidifying the sale, and following up with clients. I also have included a free sample rate sheet, customer intake form, and engagement agreement in the Sales Basic book. To complement the PI Basics series, I also have Contracts for Private Investigators, which walks you through the process of writing your very own ironclad PI contract. And I have a PI Case Management Journal for private investigators to track all of their casework and notes. So there are a lot of other resources for you to consider. As well, I have other PI training courses here that you may want to take a closer look at too. Again, let me say thank you so much for investing in yourself and your new future as a professional private investigator.